Hey guys, hello and welcome to the channel. So today in this video we are going to start with the part 3 of the Microsoft Azure AZ-900 Fundamentals. So we have already covered the 100 questions that was divided into two parts, that is part 1 and part 2. So here today we are going to start with the part 3. So we are starting with the 101 question. So 100 questions are already finished. Okay, so let's start with this question. So over here the first question is, which two options are example of conditional access policies? Okay, so each correct answer presents a complete solution, so we need to identify which two options are the example of conditional access policies. So let's check out the options. So first is block access by location. Okay, so block access by location, enable password write back to on premises, create dynamic groups, enable self-service password reset, require compliant devices. So over here the correct answer for this is block access by location and require compliant devices, because if you see what is the conditional access policy, first of all, so conditional access policies is actually it specify the action that must be completed or the conditions that must be met to grant access to the requested resource. Okay, so we can block access, we can perform some operation like blocking access by location and require compliant devices. So this all thing enable service, self-service password reset, create dynamic groups. So this doesn't meet the requirement, because what is the dynamic group? It is an action in Azure AD where you can create security group. Okay, so let's see the correct answer. So yes, these two are the correct answers, and you can read the description over here. So enable password write back to on premises and self service password resets are an example of Azure Active Directory, Azure AD authentication settings. Okay, so you can pause this and read the description ahead if you want. Okay, so moving to the next question now. Okay, all right. So my session has expired. Let me start again. Okay, so here we go with the next question. So with Dash, users can access all needed application without being required to authenticate a second time. So this is simple. Single SSO here is the, yeah, so single sign-on is available. So a single sign-on SSO is the correct option. So what is the question? It is saying user can access all needed application without being required to authenticate a second time. So once you sign on with a single sign-on, then when your session is on and it is not required for you to like authenticate again and again with the same applications. Okay, if you are using a browser and opening a new tab and trying to log in again, so it will not ask you for the authentication. It will directly allow you to log in. Okay, so multi-factor authentication, it is like basically after putting on your username, a password for the authentication purpose, it will again ask you some OTP which you can receive from your uh, mobile device via SMS or email. So that is the multi-factor authentication. And role-based access control, again this is not the correct option, because role-based access control is basically a system that provides fine gain access management to the Azure resources. So it lets you specify who access what resources. Okay, so that is also not the correct option. So SSO is the correct option over here. Okay, so next question now. Okay, and Azure multi-factor authentication server is required. So what is required over here? So what are the options, various options? Okay, so for authentication when supporting users located on-premises Azure Active Directory only. For authentication when supporting users located on Azure AD only. Third option is for authentication when supporting both Azure AD and on-prem AD using Azure Active Directory. Okay, for authentication when supporting Azure AD and on-prem AD using federation with Azure Active Directory Federation services. So this is the absolutely wrong. So we are pending with the first three. So let's check. So it is asking Azure MFA server is required. So when actually it is required. Okay, so when your like users are located on-prem Active Directory, right? So over here from the first three option, the suitable one is the first one, and for Azure or for authentication when supporting user located on Azure AD only. So it's like no on-prem. Where is the on-prem? Keyword is missing over here. We are targeting for the on-prem keyword, right? Because on-prem AD, when your server is required, so when it is located, your users are located on on-prem Azure Active AD. So first one is the correct option over here. Okay, so yeah, now moving to the next question. Okay, so over here the question is basically you are given approval to move your company web application to Azure as an app service. However, your manager wants to know the annual cost for such a move. Okay, you decide to use the Azure pricing calculator to estimate the cost. You need to determine which factors affects the cost. All right. So which five factors affect the cost of an app service? Okay, okay. So which will affect the app cost over here? Cost of an app service. So let's check the options. So five total correct answer is available in this option. So operating system, yes, because operating system will be the one option, maybe because web application to an Azure app services. Okay, you are moving a web application, so operating service will be the one factor over here. And type of application framework, I believe type is not required. Type because type doesn't matter over here. Operating system is the one of the factor. Instance type, so yes, instance type matters, so we'll take this also. And tier, so tier also matters. Region also matters. Number of instances, yes, that also matters. So five we have covered. Number of web jobs, so no, number of web job is not required over here, because if we see the factors actually affect the cost is the instance type and number of instances, that is also correct. Region, tier and operating system, so these are the correct options over here. So web jobs and type of application framework is basically not the correct, because web jobs are free because they run on the same host, right? So they run on the same host, so because that is not the correct option now. And in the same context, if we talk about the app service, so web application, so this type of application framework such as .NET framework core has no effect on the price of web application framework. So yes, this is the correct answer we have selected. Let's check the correct answer. Yeah, so these are the correct options. Moving to the next question now. So the question here is, your company plans to deploy to the Azure cloud 3 VMs and load balancer. See, 3 VM and 1 load balancer. You want to estimate the cost of using all 4 resources. So over here we want to estimate the cost of all 4 resources before we create a subscription. All right, so what we will use, so this is the simple, we will use over here pricing calculator. So this is the pricing calculator option is available. So why not Azure Advisor, why not cost management, why not total cost of ownership calculator? So let's see the description for that. So see, you should not use cost management because this is built-in service that gives you a breakdown of the usage. Okay, after your subscription, it will give you the breakdown of your usage and cost of your Azure resources. So over here in the question, it is asking for us to estimate the cost before subscription, before taking a subscription. So Azure Advisor is basically a recommendation on performance, security, availability, and cost by examining existing Azure resources. This is the very simple. Azure Advisor cannot be the option. TCO calculator. One might get confused over here. Total cost of ownership and in Azure pricing calculator. So why not TCO calculator? So total cost of ownership is basically, it will allow you to compare the difference in cost between your current on-prem infrastructure and your predicted cloud infrastructure. Okay, remember this. Total cost of ownership. So ownership means what? when you have something on premises, when you have the resources available, like your physical infrastructure. So total cost of ownership will give you the comparison. Basically what will be the comparison or the difference over here will be, because it will give you the on-prem infrastructure and your predicted cloud infrastructure. So this calculator looks at on-premises hardware, electricity, IT labor, and software licensing, among other things. It then compares this cost to an assumed resources needed in Azure. So this was the simplest question, I believe. So Azure pricing calculator is the correct option over here. Okay. So next question now. Uh, so we have to drag and drop over here. So what is the question? So you are planning to use Azure for a cloud solution. Okay. So we are planning to use that for a cloud solution. All right, so you need to choose the most appropriate tool for different scenarios. Okay, all right, so appropriate tool we need to drag and drop now. Okay, all right. So you want to see how much you can save over 5 years by moving or your company infrastructure. So again, it is a comparison. So we'll simply use total cost of ownership as we discussed. You want to set up an alert to send you and your, see, it is alert. So in alert you will use the cost management. See, I got the keyword alert. You want to set up an alert, so simply it will be the cost management. You want to estimate. Now you want to estimate, so we saw in the last question itself. So if you want to estimate something, so it is saying deploying 4 virtual machines. Okay, so what you want to estimate? You want to estimate the cost for what? By deploying 4 virtual machines and 2 SQL database. So you will use pricing calculator. Let's take the correct option. So yeah, we selected is the correct, and you can pause and read the description again. So I have already explained you the TCO, total cost of ownership. So when you compare that with the on-prem, and what can be the assumed price for when you deploy the resources into the cloud. So that is for the TCO. Cost management is basically for you to set up the alert to send you and your coworker text messages when you Azure resources use 90% of your company's monthly Azure budget. So like in credit card also, if we use more than 80%, we get an alert. So like that, for example, this is a basically a cost management over here, Azure services, one of the Azure services. You will get the alert if you use the 90% of your monthly usage. Okay, I think this is somewhat relatable to you. So moving to the next question now. You manage an Azure subscription for your company. If at a meeting someone asks you about Azure pricing calculator, what is Azure pricing calculator used for? So again, this is a repetitive, so estimating something is a use of the Azure pricing calculator. So we can get the keyword here. Determining which resources are costing your Azure subscription the most money. No, this is not the correct option. Estimating the monthly cost associated with using specific Azure resources. So yes, this is the correct option. Providing a real time up to minute view. So minute view of what your Azure resources cost. So again, this is not the correct option, because I believe the pricing calculator is not used to determine over here for this thing. So determining the annual cost. So annual cost is again basically this cost is associated with moving a physical infrastructure to the cloud. But you, in that case, we would use the Azure total cost of ownership, because TCO will be used for the comparison of that. So subscription, we talk about this subscription, determining which resources are costing. So no, this will not use, because cost management, Azure cost management will help for this. So about the pricing calculator, second one is the correct option over here. Okay, so you can pause and read the description once. So what we have discussed, that is the only reason you can see. All right, so moving to the next question. You work for a private equity firm in Richmond, Virginia. You are planning to deploy a virtual machine to Azure that allows developers to run a .NET Core web service. All right, the client application that access the web service are deployed at the firm. The developers inform you that any operating system can be used. You need to use the Azure pricing calculator. Okay, again it is about the pricing calculator. So region, for the region we will use the East US operating system. Operating system will use the Linux, because it is saying that Azure pricing calculator to determine the least expensive, right? So least expensive cost to deploy VM. So which setting should you select? For the least we will use the Linux, okay, and for the tier we will use the basic one over here, okay. We'll check the description for this, okay. Let's check the correct answer for this. So yeah, this is the correct answer what we selected, and the reason over here is you should set the region to East US. East US is the closest region to Virginia that supports non-government deployments. You should set the operating system to Linux. Linux is less expensive than Windows. Remember always it is less expensive than Windows, because the developers use .NET Core and operating systems can be used. You should set tier 2 basic. Even though it's more expensive than low priority, you would not deploy a low priority VM in a scenario in which there will be only a single VM. Okay, so moving to the next question now. All right, you need to identify tools and mechanism that help save money. Again, it is about the saving the money. So what you will use over here? Your company plan to commit a 3-year plan for virtual machine and storage resources to receive a reduction in pay as you go prices. All right, so what you will use? Cost management is the wrong option. Resource manager is also the wrong option. TCO is also not the suitable. Spending limits is also not the suitable. Then the correct option is Azure reservation. Your company plans to make use of a free SaaS solution that lets your company monitor, allocate, and optimize cloud spend in a multi-cloud environment. Okay. So we want to use a free SaaS solution that lets your company monitor, allocate, all this thing can be done by cost management. Remember this. Your company wants to increase default limits on how many select resources of each type can be provisioned per Azure region. So that will be ARM. So yes, Azure Resource Manager. Let's see the correct options. So yeah, this all are the correct options. So Azure ARM will be used over here to select resources of each type that can be provisioned per Azure region. So none of the statement refers to the Azure TCO calculator, because TCO calculator is used to estimate the cost saving you can get by migrating workloads to the cloud. None of the statement refers to Azure spending limits, because these are the limits that are set on a subscription and set a hard limit on how much can be spent during a billing period. Once set spending limit can be deleted, but they cannot be increased. Okay. All right. So we have selected the correct answers. Moving to the next questions now. Okay. For each of the following statement about capex and opex, I have to select yes and no. So capex cost are fixed. Okay, so this is correct. These costs are fixed. So we'll select yes over here. Using capex for infrastructure spending is a good idea when the demand fluctuates or is unknown. So answer is no over here. The pay as you goes consumption model qualifies and OPEX. So yes, it is absolutely correct over here. So let's see the correct answer. So yes, this is the correct answer, and the description you can read. So capex for infrastructure spending is not a good idea when the demand fluctuates or it is unknown. On the contrary, capex is appealing when you need to predict the cost before the start of a project and plan your expenses accordingly. When the demand fluctuates or is unknown, you should consider using OPEX. Remember this, okay? So now moving to the next question. You move some Windows Server VMs on your from your on-prem data center to Azure, all right? So server we are actually migrating from on-prem to Azure. Existing on-prem VM are licensed by your company active Microsoft software assurance agreement. You need to reduce the cost. Okay, so how we can reduce the cost? So over here create VM in availability will not help to reduce the cost. That is about to prevent the failure, so nothing about to reduce the cost. Deploy your VM on Azure dedicated host. Again, this is not the suitable option. Over here you won't be able to reduce the cost. Enable Azure hybrid benefit setting. So yes, this is the correct option. So let's see why this is the correct option. So you should enable the Azure hybrid benefit setting. Activating this licensing option in the VM setting allows you to use existing Windows Server licenses which are covered by the active Microsoft Software Assurance Agreement to run Windows VM in Azure. You pay only for VM's infrastructure cost, which can be up to 40% of the regular cost. Okay. So you should not deploy your VMs on a Azure dedicated host because it provides physical servers dedicated to your organizational workload only and not shared with other Azure customers. You are charged at the host level regardless of the number of VMs you deploy. So we can move now to the next question. Okay. So it is about the spot pricing. Now, what is spot pricing again? So spot pricing provides access to discounted Azure compute resources. So yes, this is the correct option. This provide discounted Azure compute resources. Second one is spot virtual machines use the standard service agreement for the Azure VM. So no, it doesn't use the standard SLA over here for Azure VM. You can set the maximum price that you agree to pay. Yes, this is absolutely correct over here. So let's see the correct answer. So yeah, this is the correct answer, and the reason description is provided is spot pricing provides access to Azure compute resources at deep discount when unused Azure capacity is available. Spot VM do not use the standard SLA for Azure VM. There is no SLA for spot VMs because Azure allocates spot VMs only if there is an unused capacity available. If Azure needs the capacity back, spot VMs can be evicted with a 30-second notice. All right. You can set the maximum price that you agree to pay because spot VM prices vary based on available capacity. You can set the capped price. Your VM are automatically evicted when the current spot price is higher than the maximum price you agree to pay, or if Azure no longer has compute capacity available. Moving to the next question. A billing zone is geographically grouping of Azure region used to determine billing based on what? So it's a billing based on data transfer only. So let's see the option. So yeah, data transfer is the option. Hours of activity. So no, it doesn't depend on the activity first of all. Peak usage, so peak usage period, this is also this will just give you the statistics when was your peak usage, but this is not related to the billing zone. In a geographical grouping, it only depends on your data transfer. Okay, because you are grouping geographical, doing the grouping of Azure regions, right? So data transfer is the correct option over here. Moving to the next question. You use Azure Cost Management and Billing to create cost reports. To understand the data in cost report, Microsoft recommends you implement what? So for tags we can use, let's see the options. So yeah, we have the option tags available here. So management group, resource manager. Resource manager is basically the template. So over here we will not use the resource manager. Okay, so resource manager basically is a management tool that will help you deploy and manage your Azure resources in consistent and unified way. Okay, so that will provide you the role based access control and auditing to help you keep control of your Azure environment. So correct option is tag because here the keyword is uh, to understand the data in cost report. Microsoft recommends so to create a cost report. So cost report, for that we will use a tag, right, to understand the data in cost report. Okay, now moving to the next question. Okay, it is about the Azure Advisor. So Azure Advisor makes shutdown recommendation based on CPU and memory utilization over the last 7 days. So no, this is wrong. It is not about the last 7 day. You can use Azure Advisor to reduce cost by resizing underutilized virtual machine. So yes, we can do that, like Azure Advisor to reduce the cost by resizing the underutilized VM. Tag can aid in cost management for your subscription, and each tag consists of a name, location, and value. So it is not the correct option. Let's see the correct answer. So yeah, we selected is the correct answer. So let's see the description. Azure Advisor does not make shutdown recommendation based on central processing unit and memory utilization over last 7 day. So what is Azure Advisor? It makes shutdown recommendation based on CPU and outbound network utilization. Azure Advisor is cloud service that will help you to optimize Azure resources based on for cost, performance, and availability. It analyzes your resources configuration and uses telemetry to identify issues and recommend solutions that can help you improve efficiency and save money. Okay, so Azure Advisor to reduce cost by resizing underutilized virtual machine. We can use that because Advisor analyzes your resources usage and activity data and then makes recommendation based on best practices from Microsoft. All right, so moving to the next question now. You can read the description by pausing the video if you want to read the complete description of that. Okay. So you need to compare the cost of running an application workload in Azure versus on-premises. So comparing the cost again, so what will be the correct answer over here? So what should you do to ensure that you can use the Azure Tco calculator to complete this task? Now we are using the Azure Tco, which can be used for you to compare your on-prem when it will be migrated to cloud. So we can define the server, database, storage, and networking workload. This is the correct option. This is the thing which we can compare while we migrate from on-prem to Azure cloud. So yeah, so you do not need to determine the app's compute, storage, and network requirement. This task is generally performed when the application is first deployed. You do not need to initiate a paid Azure cloud subscription for your organization. The TCO calculator is free to use. Okay, you do not need to create an authorized service account in Azure AD. The TCO calculator is free to use and it does not require you to use an Azure AD account. The AD account are used to facilitate authentication and authorization for access to Azure resources. Next question. Which of the following allows you to assign permissions to users so that they can create resources in Azure? So for this assign permission, we will use the RBAC. Remember this, you need to remember for assigning permission, you will use the RBAC. Okay. Moving to the next question now. Which statement best describe what a resource log does to a VM? So what does the resource log basically do? It prevents VM from being deleted. So it forces the VM to be deleted. No, it doesn't forces, it actually prevents. So yeah, the second option is available. Third option, it forces the VM to delete immediately. This is also wrong. Lock is basically for your safety. Resource lock will be prevent your VM from being deleted. Okay. So moving to the next question now. Okay, this is about the drag and drop. So RBAC, you need to choose the type of resource or feature to use for the different scenario. Okay, you want to ensure that only virtual machines of a specific size are deployed to a resource group. So what you will use, will you use initiative? No. Will you use lock? So lock is from being deleted, prevent. So third, you want to prevent virtual machine from being deleted, we can simply use the lock over here. So one option will get eliminated. So pending is initiative, policy, and role-based access control. You want to manage a collection of policy definitions. So to manage a collection, it will be a initiative. Remember this. Now the pending two options are there, policy and role-based access control. You want to ensure that only virtual machine of a specific size are deployed to a resource group. So for that we will create a policy. So policy will be required over here. Okay. So these are the correct option. Let's see. So yes, now moving to the next question. Okay, so you are researching governance methodologies in Azure. You want to understand role-based access security, RBAC policies, initiatives, and logs. You need to choose the type of resource or feature to use for different scenarios. So over here we need to again drag and drop. You want to ensure that only SQL database instances can be added to a resource group named database. So no, over here for this we cannot use RBAC, neither we cannot use initiative. It is again for the policy only. You want to ensure that only members of the sales group can access, so it is about the RBAC, it is about the accessibility, role based access control. You want to prevent new resources from being added, so again we'll use the lock because it is saying prevent new resources from being added to a resource group by anyone, so lock can be used for that. Let's see the correct option. So yeah, this is the correct options. So you can read the description over here by pausing the video. Okay, so we'll move to the next question now. You are researching the governance methodologies in Azure. You want to understand role-based access security, policies, initiatives, logs, and Azure Advisor. You need to choose the type of resource or feature to use for different scenarios. When should you use resources or features? Okay, so this is about all about the policy, initiative, advisor, role-based access control. So we had previously solved about this cost management, Azure pricing calculator, total cost of ownership. This was all about the pricing. Now we are dealing with the policies, advisors, log, initiative. Okay, so these are the Azure deep topics. So once you will solve this all problems, then there are high chances that you may solve the 20% of the Azure questions easily, because the cloud fundamentals basically will be covering highly on the deployment models, computing models like public, private, hybrid, and the infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. Now this thing will cover your the pending 20 parts. So remember this, kindly pay attention. So you will learn this all stuff also. You want to control the users who are allowed to create VM networks, virtual networks. So I want to control again. So it is about the accessibility, role-based access control. You want to review security recommendation. So advisor will be here for the reviewing security recommendation. You want to prevent virtual machines. So preventing lock will be over here. When you, sorry, over here. Preventing virtual machine from being deployed in a subscription. Okay, so for deployed in a subscription, lock will be not there. Lock will be basically for you to prevent being deleted your virtual machines or to add the virtual machine. So this is about the subscription. So being deployed over here, you will use the policy. So policy will determine basically whether to deploy like prevention of virtual machine from being deployed in a subscription or not. Okay, so moving to the next question now. You need to give all users in a group the ability to create the manage all types of Azure resources in a subscription. Rights granted to the users should be capped to a minimum. Which built-in role-based access control role should you assign to the group? Okay, so what should we use over here? So here are the different types of role-based access controls, where the reader is one of that, user access administrator, owner, and contributor. So I want to give all users in a group the ability to create. So contributor, right? All the users should be able to contribute for that to create and manage all type of Azure resources in a subscription. Then the correct answer is contributor. Okay, so these are the reasons, descriptions available. So you can pause the video and read out the description. Okay, so moving to the next question. Your company has a new policy to restrict administrative access to resources at the resource group and resource scopes in a detailed, granular way. Access will be granted to various groups and individual users. you need to implement the new policy. What should you do? To implement the new policy, again we will use the role-based access control, because we cannot use logs, because here the question is not asking anything related to prevent being deleted. The question is not asking about the recommendation on your security, on your cost optimization, right? So Azure Advisor also we can eliminate this option. Now the pending two option is Azure policy and RBAC. So our why not Azure policy? Because we have a new policy which will restrict administrator access to resources at the resources group and resource scope. So this we should mention in what, like this should be available in your Azure policy. Okay, sorry, this is already available in your Azure policy. So we want to access will be granted to various group and individual users. So this is about the role based. Okay, so role based, so we will select the role based access control. So moving to the next question now. Okay, so this is about yes and no. Okay, so logs can be applied in the context of specific users and roles. No. When multiple locks are applied at different scopes, the most restrictive inherited lock applies. So yes, this is the correct. A lock applies to all of the resources contained in a scope and any new resources added to the scope. So basically, yes, it will apply to all of the resources contained in a scope. So this is correct. Role-based access control rules takes precedence over locks. So this is wrong thing basically. So I'll do no over here. So let's see the correct options. So yes, these are the correct options. So let's read this. Locks cannot be applied in the context of specific users and roles. When a lock is applied to a scope or resources, it applies to all the users and roles. So over here, this will solve all your queries. So it applies to all the users and roles. Locks can be applied as cannot delete or read only. See, it's a clear concept. Lock will be applied as cannot delete or read only. Either you can apply lock for the read only, or not to delete any resources, right? For that lock is used. So when multiple locks are applied at different scopes, the most restrictive inherited locks applies. When a lock is applied at a scope, it applies to contain resources and scopes. Lock can be applied to subscription, resource group, and resource scope. So where the locks can be applied, so it can be applied to a subscription, resource group, and a resource scope. Okay. So now moving to the next question. Your company wants to ensure that it meets its internal compliance goals and that Azure resources are compliant with company standards. This will include ongoing evaluation for compliance and the identification of non-compliant resources. You need to recommend a solution. Hmm, okay, now we need to recommend a solution. So over here, what we can use. So basically, this is confusing statement. What we'll read once again. Your company want to ensure that it meets its internal compliance goals and the Azure resources are compliant with company standard. This will include ongoing evaluation for compliance and the identification of non-compliant resources. Okay, so Azure Monitor will not be used in this case because we are not over here analyzing or observing the usage or telemetry anything. So Azure Monitor is not the correct option. Policy will come back for this option. We'll check the another thing. So role-based access control is not again in the picture because we are not talking about anything related to roles. So we can see over here it is just about the compliance. Okay, so compliance and security, sorry, compliance goals. So we are pending with the Azure Advisor and Azure policy. So again, the Azure Advisor, we are not talking about any recommendation. Okay, so I believe we are left with policy only. So let's check the option and reasons also. So yes, the correct option is Azure policy. So you should use Azure policy. Lets a company enforce rules that apply to resources to help ensure compliance with company standards. Policies can also be used to ensure that resources meet service level agreement requirements. Resources are evaluated based on policies and non-compliant resources are identified. Okay, so Azure policy is the correct answer. So we'll move to the next question now. Okay, so this is about methodology. So you need to prevent any users from deleting resources from a subscription with context. So locks will be the option. So let's see. Uh, Azure Advisor, no, we are not talking about any recommendation. So yes, Azure Locks is the correct option. You need to use information from Azure Security Center to develop best practices recommendation for, so recommendation advisor will be there. You need to define a set of policies to help ensure compliance for resources contained in resource group. So this is about the initiative. So an initiative is the correct option. Yes. So you can read out the description over here. Okay, so pause this video and read out the description. So moving to the next question now. Your company uses Azure Blueprints to assist with its migration to Azure. User 1 should be able to assign published blueprints. You need to add user 1 to and role-based access control role necessary to provide this permission. Your solution should follow the principle of least privilege. Which role should you assign user 1 to? So least privilege over here, I will allow blueprint a contributor or operator. Which can I use? So contributor will not be, because I will allow all users to manage and give the accessibility to contribute. So blueprint operator will be the correct option. Owner is also not the correct option. Let's see the correct option over here. So yes, blueprint operator is the correct option. So you should assign user 1 to blueprint operator role. Members of this role can assign existing published blueprint, but they cannot create new blueprint definitions. Okay, so you should not assign user 1 to owner role, because this would enable the user to assign published blueprints. However, it would violate the principle of least privilege. Okay, so this will violate the least privilege principle, because the roles includes all blueprint Azure blueprint related permissions. Okay, so moving to the next question now. Okay, so this is about yes and no. Your company plans to use Azure Blueprint to support rapid deployment through built-in components and following organizational compliance. Which statement accurately describe the feature and functionality of Azure Blueprint? Okay, so I want to now check for the functionality. What is the functionality over here? When a blueprint is updated and the updated version is published, any assignment of the blueprint are updated automatically. So this is totally inaccurate. So I'll mark no. When a blueprint is unassigned, all the resources assigned by the blueprint remain in place, but blueprint resource locking is removed. So yes, this is correct. When you delete a core blueprint, any assigned version of the blueprint remain in place. So yes, this is also correct. So let's see the correct option. So yeah, this is the correct option. So when a blueprint is unassigned, all of the resources assigned by the blueprint remain in place, but blueprint resources locking is removed. This also result in deletion of the blueprint assignment object. Okay, when you delete a core blueprint, any assigned version of the blueprint remain in place. A blueprint must be unassigned before it can be deleted. Okay. Now moving to the next question. All right. An initiative is limited to being assigned to resource group or subscription only. Well, is it limited? No. So I'll mark no. When an initiative assignment is evaluated, all of the policies in that initiative are evaluated. So yes, this is correct. All of the policies will be evaluated. An initiative can only contain policies that are located in the same subscription. So yes, this is also correct. It will contain only policies that are located in the same subscription. So we can read the answer, proper answer. So yeah, this is the reason description mentioned over here. So an initiative is a collection of Azure policy definitions, okay, which are usually grouped with the aim of achieving a single goal. All right. Initiative are used to simplify managing and assigning policies. The same initiative can be assigned to multiple scopes in order to include resources, resource groups, subscriptions, or management groups. Okay. When an initiative assignment is evaluated, all of the policies in that initiative are evaluated. If you want to evaluate a policy by itself, you should either not assign the policy to an initiative, or you should create an initiative that only contains that policy. Okay. Moving to the next question. See guys, I will not be able to read each and every description, but yes, you can read by pausing the video, because if the question is very much logical, in that case we can directly select the answer if it is very of the basic, and if in that case if it is not basic, so we'll read the description as well. Okay, so all right. Your company uses management group to manage resources in your Azure tenant more efficiently. User 1 should be able to assign access and assign policies to management group. You need to determine which role-based access control user 1 should be added to. Yeah, so it will be access administrator only, right? Because company uses management group to manage resources, right? So user one should be able to assign access. User is over here doing the admin services, like assigning something, assigning access, assigning policies to the management group. So in that case, user access administrator will be the correct option. So let's see the answer. Yeah, this is the correct option. You can read the description below for this. So okay, we are moving to the next question now. Okay. All Azure resources support tags. So it is a question mark. So maybe no, all Azure resources doesn't support the tag. Tags are name value pairs. So yes, this is the basic definition of tag, that they are name value pairs. Tags applied to a resource group are inherited by its resources. So no, this is not the correct option. So we'll see the description for this. Not all Azure resources support tag. They cannot be applied to classic resources that existed before Microsoft introduced Azure Resource Manager, like cloud services. Azure, they also they cannot be applied to some other Azure resources. For the latest updates on tag support, you should consult Microsoft documentation. Okay, so now moving to the next question. Okay, all right. Match each Azure cloud adoption framework. Okay, all right. Okay. Prepare the cloud environment for the planned changes. What can be over here? So prepare the cloud environment. That will be basically which stage it will be. Okay, I will see this next. Develop new cloud native or hybrid solution. So this is something about innovation. So innovate, developing will come under the innovate. Okay. So one option is eliminated. Define the business justification. Defining something will come under the strategy. So strategy will be the option. Align actionable adoption plans with business outcome. So this is plan. So something or in question only plan is mentioned. So now we are pending with the ready. Let's see the options, correct option for this. Okay. These are the correct option, and you can read the description over here about the strategic methodology, plan methodology, ready methodology, innovate methodology. Okay, all right. So now moving to the next question. An Azure initiative is, so what is a Azure initiative? It is a collection of Azure policies targeted toward reaching a single overall goal. So yes, it is the correct option. So we have already discussed what is initiative. So it is a collection of Azure policies. So first option is provides a model that is used by Azure resources. No, it is nothing related to the ARM. Okay, so ARM is nothing related to that. Lets you implement detailed granular resource access controls. So this is also not the correct option. Guys, I think we are going slow, so I will not discuss the description now. We'll describe the correct option only. So which resource is required to use Azure Cloud Shell? So resources for the Cloud Shell will be basically storage account, Okay, so please check out the description for this. Okay, please pause the video and read the description. So next question, it is again about the drag and drop. So first is you need to log into the Azure with the following CMD let. So PowerShell will be the correct option. So from your laptop without manually opening a web browser. So PowerShell we can use. You need to log into Azure with the following command from your laptop without manually opening a web browser. So again CLI we can use. For the browser we need to use a over here cloud shell, right? So you want to run the following cmdlet in a scripting environment inside the browser, so cloud shell will be the correct option. Let's see the correct answer. Yeah, so this is the correct answer, and this is the uh, description for that, so please pause and read out once. Moving to the next question now. All right, so your company is planning an Azure cloud deployment that must meet the following requirement: improve the continuity of business critical application, improve application performance, detect threats and vulnerabilities, reduce overall Azure cost. So over here we have one diagram. So what will be the option over here? So option is not given, just the diagram is given, and we have been asked you need to use the toolbar. With the help of this, you can see it is the recommendation. So advisor will be the correct option over here. Let's see the answer. Uh, yeah, so you should use Azure Advisor to collect the recommendation needed. You should run Advisor from the menu to launch Azure Advisor. The other menu selection will not provide the requested information. Okay, now moving to the next question. Azure CLI. Okay, you need to use Azure Cloud Shell to manage Linux virtual machine that are already deployed and in use. Okay, for each of the following management tools, select yes if you can use the tool to manage Linux VM. Okay, it is asking about the Linux VM. So can we use Azure CLI? Yes, we can. Can we use Azure PowerShell? Yes, we can. Azure Portal? Nope. So this is the correct option we have selected, and let's see the description. So yeah, Azure Cloud Shell supports the use of Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, and Bash to manage Linux, Windows, and macOS VMs. Okay, so Azure Cloud Shell also supports common programming languages. You can access Cloud Shell through Azure Portal or from shell.azure.com, but you cannot use Azure Portal inside Cloud Shell. Okay, moving to the next question now. Which Azure management tool provides a graphic interface for deploying, managing, and monitoring Azure resources? So for this, we need to just know which tool. Graphic interface will be the portal only. So Azure portal is the correct answer. Okay, moving to the next question now. Okay, so it is about yes and no. Azure PowerShell can be used to create script to automate Azure management tasks. So yes, we can. Azure PowerShell can be used for that. Azure PowerShell virtual machine management is limited to Windows VM only. No, it is not limited to any operating system. Azure PowerShell can be run in a browser in a Azure Cloud Shell. So yes, this is also the correct. Azure Resource Manager template use Azure PowerShell syntax. So no, this is the wrong. So please read out the description over here by pausing the video while we move to the next question. Okay, your company is considering moving its on-premises infrastructure to Azure. Before doing so, you want to compare the cost saving. Okay, so it is again about the cost saving. So it is like you need to choose the most appropriate cost saving estimation tool. So cost management will not be there, advisor will not be there, TCO. Yes, this will be the correct option. We have already checked the description for this thing. Okay, so next question. A collection of customizable tiles that are displayed in the portal. Okay, so collection of customizable tile is basically a dashboard. Customizable mean dashboard. A panel that slides out in a navigation sequence. So that is a blade. Service that provides recommendation of high availability. So advisor will be the option. Yeah, these are the correct option. So pause the video and see the read out the description. Okay. Next question. Command works are the same on Mac, Linux, and Windows. Okay, so which can be the option over here? So in the option it is mentioned Azure CLI only, Azure PowerShell only, both. So yeah, both can be used over here. Okay, so command execution supported in Azure Cloud Shell. So again for the Cloud Shell, CLI only, PowerShell both can be used. Okay. Execute command in an interactive environment. So for this also, this will be the both supports an optional GUI interface. So this is for the GUI, none of them will be the option. So I'll mark as a neither. Yeah. So these are the correct options. Please read out the descriptions. So we move to the next question now. Hmm. Okay. It is again about the yes and no. When running Azure PowerShell with Cloud Shell, both Linux specific and Windows specific functionality is available. So for this, we will mark as no. Cloud Shell times out after 20 minutes of inactivity. So yes, this is correct. Timeout is there. Cloud Shell provides a way to run Azure CLI and PowerShell on iOS and Android mobile devices. Yes, this is also correct. So please read this description and we move ahead now. Please pause the video and read the description. So now the next question is, you deploy a Linux virtual machine and then manually adjust its configuration in Azure portal to meet the requirement of your development environment. You need to capture changes made to the development VM's configuration after the original deployment. Okay, okay. So that you can reuse it as a template. Okay, it is about two actions it is saying, no? Which two actions can you perform to achieve your goal? Mm. So it is all about the ARM only. That's why all the four options contains the ARM. So first option is like by default eliminated because it is not having the ARM in that. Hmm. Before deployment, from deployment history, from resource group, from a resource. Okay. So we'll read this again. You need to capture changes made to the development VM configuration after the original deployment. After the original deployment, so it will be like a, so that you can reuse. So you can reuse, export the ARM template from deployment history. No. Export the ARM template from a resource group. Yes. Export the ARM from template from a resource. So let's check the correct option. Even I am not that sure. Yes. So we have selected the correct options only. So reason for why we should not export the ARM template before deployment or export the ARM template from the deployment history is that two options only capture the state of the resources at the time of deployment. They do not include any manual changes made after the original deployment. So please pause this video and read this once. So moving ahead to the next question. Hmm, okay. You need to determine the use cases for which service health is beneficial. Okay, which service health is beneficial? Your company has a hybrid Azure cloud infrastructure in Virginia. It consists of Azure virtual machines, an app service, a SQL database instance, and on-premises web server that hosts a Windows Communication Foundation service. You consider using the Azure Service Health feature. Okay, in which three use case? So it is already saying like there are three use cases. So only three option will be the correct out of this five. Mm, is service health beneficial? So when will your service health will be beneficial? You want to respond to planned services outages in Virginia. So yes, this can be the one option. You want to view app service performance with window task manager. So I believe this is not the correct. You want to implement web hook on your website to display health incident. Yes, this is also the correct. You want to be notified if your app service usage exceeds the usage quota. Yes, this is also the correct. So let's see the correct option now. So yes, these are the correct options which we have selected. You want to be notified, you want to respond to planned service outages, you want to implement a webhooks on your website. Yeah, so you can read out the features over here. So we can move now to the next question. Which feature of Azure Monitor allows you to visually analyze? Okay, this is about the analyzing. So simple is application insight over here. Okay, So let's see the, yeah, so this is the correct answer. Please pause and read the description. So next question is, which Azure service is used to send an email to an administrator when VM is about to exit its usage monthly? Okay, it's exit usage quota for the month. So alert will be used, so not the metric. Metric will just show you the data of your usage. So alert, basically alert will be used. Application insight is not the correct. Service health is not the correct. Okay, so Azure Monitor Alert is the correct option. So next question is, you need to understand Azure monitoring options. Okay, which monitoring feature should you use for each scenario? Okay, you want to enable developers to improve app performance and usability. So which will be the correct option over here? So we can use the, I want to improve app performance and usability. So application insight will be required. You want to receive an email whenever the number of requests to a web access. Okay, so this is about alerts again. So we want to receive an email, right? So the correct option over here will be alert. So we can just mark this alert. Okay, you want to view the number of virtual machines that are currently down. So resource health can be used over here. Yeah, so these are the correct options which we have selected. So please read out the description here. All right. Hmm. You need to understand Azure monitoring options. Which monitoring feature should you use to for each scenario? To use drag the appropriate feature to each scenario. A feature may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Okay, all right. So we'll see the option for this. All right. You want to know how many times your web app has been unavailable during the past month. So how many times? So these are the correct options. So health history will be used. You want to use, you want you and your team members to receive a text messages when Azure maintenance is planned. So health alerts will be used. You want to view the Azure features that are planned to be deprecated. So health advisors will be used. You can read the description. Even I was not that specifically sure for that, but yeah, so health history will be used when you want to know how many times your web app, this is only the question itself saying something about history, your web app has been unavailable during the past month. Okay, all right, we can move to the next question now. Which Azure service can use auto scale to add or remove resources as appropriate to minimize cost and ensure optimum performance level? So which resources we can use over here is Azure Monitor we can use. Okay, so let's see the correct option, and yeah, this is the correct option. Now we can move to the next now next question is, which Azure component provides information about plant maintenance and advisories such as deprecated offerings? So which Azure component, it is talking about health, so service health, provides information about plant maintenance and advisory. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, this is the correct option. See, you can simply eliminate other options because you should know what is the role of that. Okay, if I talk about the monitor, so it is not giving me anything about the observation, neither anything about the alerts, neither anything about the analysis, neither anything about the recommendation. So this cannot be the option. Monitor advisor, the pending option, you will either stuck in one or two, either stuck in one or two. Okay, so defender is nothing related to here. I just want the information about plant maintenance. So this is how you can select the correct option by also eliminating other options. Okay, so there are four options. It means 25% is the chance that you can select the correct options. So you have to increase your chance. Okay, so how can you increase your chance? If you know the Azure services, the information related to them, that thing, so so that you can eliminate the option and you can increase your chances by 75%, by 50%. Okay, all right. Next question. You are going to start collecting data about your Azure infrastructure with Azure Monitor. Hmm. Which type of data collection require you to enable diagnostic? So this is about the data collection. So we will use the event logs. Okay. So yes, event log is the correct answer. Please read out this description. Next question. Hmm. To complete the statement, Azure Monitor begins collecting data. So this is about the Azure Monitor. As soon as you launch Azure Management Portal, as soon as you add a resource to a new Azure subscription. So yeah, this is the correct. It is not about you launch the Azure Management Portal. So this is the correct one. As soon as you add a resource to new Azure subscription. Please read this by pausing the video. Okay, which two locations are valid destination for platform logs and metrics collected by Azure Monitor? Each correct answer represents a complete solution. So, which two locations are valid destination for platform log? So, in this case, an Azure Log Analytics workspace. Azure Log Analytics workspace will be the correct option, and storage account will be the correct option. So yeah, we got the correct option over here. Please read this description for what storage account, resource health, and advisor is getting used. Okay. Now we are here at the very last question. So a coworker informs you of a planned Azure maintenance window. You attempt to verify this information using the tool shown in the exhibit. You are still uncertain whether the maintenance will impact services you use. What should you do to determine how this maintenance might impact your organization? Okay, so what should you do to determine? Like now I am confused a bit over here. You are still uncertain over whether the maintenance will impact services you use. Okay, all right. So checking the Azure status page will not be the correct option. So we are pending with the three. Verify any planned maintenance via the health dashboard. Use Azure Monitor to view maintenance intervals for. No, this is also the wrong option. So pending is second and fourth. Select the resource type of for your account in resource health. So I'm not sure with second and fourth, but over here verify any planned maintenance. So it is saying a coworker informs you to plan Azure maintenance window. So yes, second will be the correct option. Verify any planned maintenance via the service health dashboard. So let's see the option. Yeah, so this is the correct option. So you can read the description over here. So you should verify any planned maintenance via the service health dashboard. Azure Service Health is a service that help you to stay informed about the health and availability of your Azure resources. You can use Azure Service Health to get alerts when there are problems with the Azure resources and to see the status of your resources at a glance with Azure Service Health. Okay guys, so now we have completed all the questions. Now all the three parts have been completed by us. So over here we can see our result. It is a 61.94. So let it be because we have completed now the total 55 question in the part 3. So you can see describing cloud concept is the clear. Describe Azure management and government is the clear strong, and describe Azure architecture and services. So this is not for the part 3 basically this is for the entire part 1, part 2 and part 3, so don't worry about that. So I have just selected sometimes the wrong answer by making a judgment. So this is don't believe like we have solved every correct answer and discussed every correct answer as well. So we'll see the question list over here. Okay, so we have not saved, that's why. All right, so we have failed in this. What is the advantage of moving your company? So what was the correct answer for this? The company is able to scale up as needed with no capital expenditure required. Okay. All right, now next we should go to the back to score. So questions list. What is the field option over here? You are asked about the differences between infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So what is the correct answer? So IaaS allows you to rent hardware and have control over the operating system. So yes, you to rent hardware and have control. Infrastructure as a service allows, platform as a service doesn't allows. That is managed by the CSP. Okay. All right. So again we are getting back to the score and questions list. So what is we have? Okay, so this all were the unanswered for that because I have not selected on the show answer, right? So don't worry, we have selected the correct answer only. So don't because I was just going to the next question without marking the question. So all right. So we have completed now all the 155 questions. So hopefully you have enjoyed all the parts if you have seen that. All right, so we have completed all the questions. So thank you for attending this from the part 1, part 2 and part 3 and watching this video entirely. Thanks for your support. Please like this video, please give a comment, at least share with your friends as well so that they can solve these questions as well. So thank you guys, that's it. If you have any doubts, please comment. I'll reply every single comment. So we'll see you in the next video. So till that time, take care. Thank you and bye bye.